is watching. Yabba Sunday, Monday. Welcome aboard the 4 to 7 pod. I am Chris. He's Jerry. Oh man! All right. And yes, we're still riding high. Still riding high off of the Mets Subway Series win, and Juan Soto just hitting a home run every day. I think. Well, he had 2 today, didn't he?
He did. Like 3 in 2 days, and 2 tonight were moonshots.
Yeah, and he had 1. I know he had 1 in the Friday game against the Yankees, and didn't he have 1 on Sunday too?
He might have had an RBI Sunday.
Yeah. But as we speak right now, Giovanni Cruz is making his major league debut. Pretty exciting stuff. He was called up a few days ago. So the Yankees desperately need some bullpen help as he gets out of the inning. That's like I know. Granted, my stream just skipped like 2 batters, but nonetheless, that was like the fastest inning ever.
He went 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, especially what we've grown accustomed to from the Yankees bullpen as of late. But I thought it would definitely be cool to go live at the same time as Giovanni Cruz.
Only took him 8 pitches too.
Yeah, so we'll always have that. We'll always have that parallel with him. But I'll let you kick it off. We could kick it off with the Mets stuff since you guys did take the Subway Series win. Congratulations. We had Friday. Cam Schlittler shut the Mets down. Saturday, it was 2 idiots fighting, the worst I've ever seen. I was at that game, and I am now 0-4 in Subway Series games that I've attended. And
even Alex, I have an idea.
I mean, shit. If you want to give me free games, if they want to give me free tickets to every game, I'm not gonna not go. Like eventually,
modern problems require modern solutions.
Eventually, we'd have to win one. I mean, but I guess that experiment could run out at any time. But
I'll take my odds.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take the free tickets. Maybe let me chill in Soto's suite that we weren't willing to give him, or give me like a free voucher for one of your fancy schmancy Mercedes club or whatever it is.
I'll put in a few calls.
Yeah, do it and get back to me. We're gonna see how much pull the original 4 to 7 pod really has, but it's still definitely more than any other show going by any sort of alias of that sort. But yeah, you had 2 idiots fighting, the worst I've ever seen Saturday. But of course, the Mets were the more intelligent of the 2 that day. And then you had a bullpen David Bednar implosion for the Yankees on Sunday to the 3-run homer by Tyrone Taylor in the 9th inning to tie that game. And then the Mets walking it off on a Carson bench base hit, I believe, the following inning. So that's a wrap on leg 1 of the Subway Series. And since then, the Mets are in a series with the Nats. The Nats have taken 2 out of 3 so far with the last game of the series tomorrow. Yankees have taken 2 out of 3 so far against the Blue Jays in our following series, but we are currently down 2-0. Currently down 2-0 in the bottom of the 8th, and then we'll have game 4 tomorrow. So
and you can make it 3 of 4 for the Nats because David Peterson's starting tomorrow, so you can chalk that one up already.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and pencil that in. We'll go ahead and pencil that in as a Nats win, and if that doesn't happen, I'm sure you'll be pleasantly surprised. But overall, obviously, the last time the last time we've recorded a few times since the abysmal 12-game losing streak. And I feel like the vibes have gotten incrementally better since then. But I mean, where are you at? Where are you at with the Mets right now? And what's what's your take on like the pulse of this team right now?
Honestly, coming out of the
What
Subway
the fuck
Series,
are you challenging Anthony Volpe? I'm sorry. That is one of the worst ABS challenges ever. I mean, shit. That could be not to completely cut you off and go
ahead.
this conversation, but that could be open up like a whole new can of worms of usefulness for a sidewinder like Trevor Rogers. If you can trick people into challenging that.
Oh,
that was like, I thought Jazz had some bad challenges, but that might be the worst ABS challenge I've ever seen.
I feel like when we first talked about the first week of ABS, I think we talked about that there's going to be guys, or there's going to be catchers that might be just hanging on to a job. And now it's like, oh, well, I can frame well enough to where I can bait a team into taking a challenge that they're clearly going to lose, or they're going to have one left. And it's, well, do we really want to use it here? And we get to keep the call because they're too afraid to, like, the whole structure of when you use it and who gets to use it and what situation, like, that's kind of become a fascinating subplot of games now. And the one thing I do know from Mets broadcast recently is, and I don't know how this is with other teams, although I'd have to imagine they feel the same way, is anytime you see someone challenge before like the fifth inning, it's, why on earth are you doing this?
Yeah, you
like,
need to be.
You get two of these, you understand? Like,
yeah, like you have to be. Yeah, it has to be like an abysmal call. Like you have to be absolutely positive.
Yeah, there's
the challenge pre fifth inning, and Ben Rice strikes out to end the inning. 3 outs. The Yankees 3 outs away from being shut out.
And before we continue on the show, I want to once again tip my cap to Chris, because he has been on this since about maybe this point last year, that he called the Ben Rice breakout coming, and here we are. So
appreciate it. Yeah,
this was Wemby pulling up from 30 and going, oh my God, he was right. Honestly, there was a lot to feel good about coming out of the Subway Series, because you could legitimately look at their record and go, and it's one of those things. Yeah, you can't take the 12-game losing streak out of there, obviously. But it's one of those things where it's, man, if they had just gone 6-6, they'd be in second place right now. Yeah, they'd still be well behind the Braves, which, like, hey, you can't account for that.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like, no, I don't think anybody's catching the Braves. Like,
but if they had just gone 6-6 in that stretch, they'd be comfortably in a wild card spot right now. Like, that's, and I kind of remain of the opinion that they're not going to do it 2024. One, for baseball reasons, because just that there's so many injuries right now that it's going to be hard to maintain this for multiple months while you're missing important players. So there's that. And two, like, there's a reason what they did 2 years ago was special, because that just doesn't happen. So to do that twice in 3 years you'd be like, okay, this is not a realistic script. But they did take a pretty big blow, though, on Friday, losing Clay Holmes. And he's probably, I think they said he's got like no activity for 8 weeks. And then he'll have to probably ramp up for about a month after that. So if everything goes smoothly and everything goes correctly, which it's a New York Mets injury, those do not happen.
You're looking at like late August, early September, maybe.
And that kind of opens up another box, because it becomes,
and he was having such a good season too.
Here's where it gets interesting. He has a player option for next year. In theory, because he pitched so well to start this year. And again, was it perfect last year? No. Was it frustrating at times? Sure. But on the whole of last year, did, I think, better than could have been expected. So on the whole, I think the Clay Holmes experience as a Met, a B plus, again, to convert a guy who hadn't been a starter since 2018. Now you just dropped him in the rotation to say, hey, here, go do this. It's generally gone pretty well. Is that going to go out? Nope, that is going to die at the track. Okay. But Clay Holmes could realistically say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take that bet on myself. I think teams will pay me, or a team that's close that needs one more starter. He could do that. Or he might want to just take the security of, I don't know what I'm going to be like coming off this. And he's 32 now or 33?
Yeah.
He might just say, I've got like 8 figures coming in next year. Let me just take that.
Yeah, let me just chill. I feel like it's what comes I feel like it's what he does if and when he does come back at the end of the season. I feel like that's what's going to dictate his decision. And I think like we were saying on the last episode with the whole Bo Bichette thing, and Bo Bichette actually has been playing a lot better lately.
It's the law of averages has started to even out a little bit.
Yeah. But we were saying how if you're Bo Bichette and if you're in the Mets, you just want him to make it an interesting decision for one side or the other.
But in this case, it's I would hope that Clay Holmes is back next year, because the Freddie Peralta decision is going to be interesting, because, and I know I'm not the only person to say this because I've seen this sentiment, has Freddie Peralta been good so far? Yes. Based strictly on what we've seen of him as a Met, would you give him 8 years and whatever dollar amount he's going to be asking for?
Probably not.
I need you to consistently go more than 5 innings, man. I probably need you to go at least 6, and he's not doing that. And so far, the trade return hasn't hurt them. Brandon Sproat's been up and down at the major league level with Milwaukee. Jet Williams isn't up yet. But that's one of those. I was mentioning this in the Discord the other day. There's stuff that you could absolutely give David Stearns heat for, and I'll stand with those people. But Peralta being just okay and Bichette having the year that he's had so far, you can't really fault Stearns for that. Like, the process was sound on that. Everything about Bo Bichette's career to this point said, yeah, when he's healthy, that's a good major league hitter. We'd had 6 seasons of evidence that said this. Everything we'd seen about Freddie Peralta, once he became an established starter, is you can count on this guy. But again, when you're asking him to be the piece that when you're counting on him to be the piece that elevates the rotation, I need more than 5 innings out of you, especially with how this season's gone. Like, I'm not saying he has to do it every start, but every once in a while, he's got to have an outing where it's like, all right, screw that, we're winning this, and I'm going to do it. And
I mean, as of right now, like, I'd say he's still. I mean, granted, it's I guess McLean is. I mean, would you say Peralta is the ace, or would you say McLean is the ace, or do you think they're both kind of, is it like a 1A, 1B type of thing? Because, like, as of now, I was gonna say, like, Peralta's still probably your ace by not a wide margin, but he's probably marginally your ace. So, like, I think the expectation, especially with it's kind of a similar situation to last year, where like you weren't getting where you like weren't getting the length out of your starters, and it was wearing down the bullpen. Except I think your bullpen's probably a little bit better this year, especially with Brooks Raley being like your best reliever right now. But
he has been the best lefty we've had since Aaron Loop, and it's not close.
Yeah, but I do think you obviously you don't want to see what happened last year, where the wheels start to fall off with that, because the pitchers can't make it through. The pitchers can't make it through, past the 5th.
Well, that's kind of the rub with this team, is that Holmes was consistently giving you 6 and occasionally 7.
Holmes was going a lot deeper into games this year, which I think makes that injury hurt, even more.
And I know McLean didn't have the best outing last night, but generally was giving you 6 prior to that. And then after that, I didn't even necessarily hate the opener in front of David Peterson thing, because Was it the prettiest thing to watch? No. And when you get to the end of those outings, do you feel much better about where David Peterson is? No, but
Nope.
a lot of times Peterson in this role, you look up and it's the seventh inning and it's okay, this game's still winnable.
It's at least a ball
the easiest
game
thing to watch, but they're still in this.
Yeah.
And then that fifth one, I don't know what you do right now. Zach Thornton made his debut tonight.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible.
Great. I also give him credit because the Nats got 3 off of him in the first inning. Also, it should be noted, the Nats have the highest scoring offense in the NL. And I feel like their record might fool a lot of people and to be like, no, that can't be true. And let me tell you, I've watched them in 2 series now. It's absolutely believable that they have the highest scoring offense in the NL. And it's also absolutely believable why they have the record they do.
It seems like in every game of this series, it seems like by like the second or third inning, the Nats have already put on like 3 or 4 runs in each game.
And it's not even like James Wood's a superstar, sure, but like beyond that, it's like CJ Abrams is okay, but I don't think the Nationals are really all that thrilled with him. And beyond that,
aren't they like trying to trade him
actively?
Yeah,
and you're like, okay, it's Dalen Lyle, he's okay. It's like Joey Weimer's still in the league. What do we do? Like, I know they just brought Cruz back up tonight, and we'll see where that goes with that. But yeah, Zach Thornton was fine. Again, he was down 3-0 after 1. Like that game could have really got away from them. And again, he got pulled with 2 out in the 5th, and it was still a winnable game. So
he gave you a professional outing.
Yeah, he did enough. There had been talk of them potentially bringing Joey or Jonah Tong back up for tomorrow. I wouldn't have been wild about that because I know his strikeout numbers look good at AAA, but he's also gotten hit a lot.
Yeah,
he basically jumped that level last year. I think it's better for him to be down there and to just kind of reset everything for him.
Yeah, I would agree. Didn't they skip his start though? Like wasn't he supposed to start in AAA today and he didn't?
Yeah, because I think they were still trying to figure out what they wanted to do for tomorrow. Because I think they wanted to give McLean and Peralta, I think they wanted to give him an extra day of rest.
Yeah. It's like hard to do with all the injuries and lack of depth right now, and also with the lack of days off.
It does surprise me that they haven't just committed to Tobias Myers being a starter because we have a track record of him being a good major league starter. And outside of like 2 bad outings, he's been mostly fine as the long man in the bullpen. And right now they really have 3 long guys because it's really, when you think about it, Peterson basically is a long reliever now. You have Minaya and you have Myers. I don't even think the best teams have 3 long men in the pen. You have a legitimate hole in your rotation right now. If nothing else, because of Kodai Senga being down, there's a legitimate hole there. Again, I'm not saying Tobias Myers is going to come in here and finish top 10 in the Cy Young or what have you, but could he be a credible starter every 5 days? Yeah, and
can he be like a solid
starter right now?
4th starter? Yeah,
but you could get by with that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So is that kind of like the direction that you would go in as far as like filling that spot, or is there anyone else like the Mets could consider calling up to fill that spot?
Well, the name that's been thrown around a lot is Jack Wenninger, who I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I want to look this up. I'm going to pull up the MLB pipeline. I believe he was the pick. He was the compensation pick that we got for unemployed Noah from Texas leaving after 2021. Or I might be confusing him with someone else.
Yeah.
Wenninger was a 6th round pick in 2023. That's where I'm. Okay, the Yankees got something here in the 9th.
Yeah, I see. You're probably ahead of me, but I'm guessing this Jazz at bat went okay.
Yeah, I was adjusting my screen, and then I looked up, and I saw Jazz sprinting past first, and there were like 3 Blue Jays in front of first base, all looking like, you had it. No, you had it. Let's see what happened here.
Yeah, it seems like the
Chopper.
Blue Jays have been fucking up a lot tonight.
Louis Varlin basically overran it.
Oh, okay.
It was a high chopper in front of the plate, and Varlin was running toward first, and I think he just overstepped it. So now it's Goldschmidt
first and third
with one out.
All right, let's go. My stream will catch up eventually. I'm still on the Jazz at bat.
I just want to make sure I don't.
Probably about to see this high chopper. Oh, yep, there it is, and nice one. Fucking idiot.
I love that. No, but Wenninger was a 6th-round pick in 23. I'm just kind of reading through. Like he touches 96. Like actually got like into the upper 90s last season. At the end, it says his walk rate got a touch better at the end of at Double-A last year, and he's athletic enough for his size to keep the strikes coming. He could use another true plus pitch beyond the splitter, but even as it stands, he has a comfortable a number 4.5 projection. And so far this year in 8 starts at Syracuse, 3-1 with a 1.51 ERA. Opponents rating 171 against him. And he's got 39 strikeouts and 35 2/3 innings. I wouldn't hate Wenninger coming up for the simple reason, we talked about this last year when we got to August, where it was just like, you need someone that can give you competitive outings. And that's, if nothing else, that's what the 3 rookies did last year. Were they perfect every time? No, of course not. Did they win you a few games? They did. And ironically, that's what they did with the lineup last week. Has AJ Ewing batted 1,000? No. Has he injected some life into this lineup that badly needed it?
Yes, he did. Absolutely.
Could Nick Morabito do that? I don't know. We've only got one game's worth of evidence as of right now.
I think it's I think at this point it's probably worth it to find out, because I mean, you're really not getting shit from guys like MJ Melendez and Austin Slater, so like you really might as well let the young guys, especially these young outfielders who have kind of been the catalyst for. They're kind of like, I'd say they're probably the main reason the Mets season isn't like completely dead right now. It might still be on life support, but but you can't say they're completely dead at the moment.
But
I'd say they're like a big reason why.
It's why, like, I know Morabito didn't have a great debut last night, and he had that mix-up with the play with Taylor on the inside the park grand slam. But I'll say this. Yeah. I would rather a kid come up and try to figure it out, because you never know what he might be. We think we have a read on these guys, but sometimes they develop beyond what we could have ever expected. And who knows, like, Morabito could be a 10-year starter. He could be gone by September. I don't know. But I know what Austin Slater is, and he shouldn't be on this team. So I would much rather see Morabito try to make something of himself than watch something that I know doesn't work.
Yeah.
Austin Slater doesn't work. And so if nothing else, I don't have to watch him anymore. I'm happy about that.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of how I felt about, like, when the Yankees were giving like Randall Grichuk at bats, and then if the Jays catcher would have challenged that, it would have won. But it's 2-0 as far as where I'm at right now.
Or DJ LeMahieu. Like, that was probably the same thing.
Yeah. Or like, but like earlier this season, it was like, they were starting Grichuk, and it's like, and then eventually it was Dominguez, and Dominguez got hurt, and now it's Spencer Jones. And like, has Spencer Jones been tearing the cover off the ball? No, not by any means. Not by any means whatsoever.
I can name something Spencer Jones did tear.
Yeah, unfortunately. I wish he was doing more of the former than the latter. Believe you and me.
You may have seen this tweet, but this is Mets luck for you. The Mets trade Brandon Nimmo to the Rangers. He hits the ball that Dominguez gets injured on. They then call Spencer Jones up. He hits the ball that breaks Holmes' leg.
Yeah, Nimmo injuring Dominguez to own the libs, seemingly.
Yeah, but he got a white guy hurt in the process. At what cost? At
That's
what cost?
Shit, that sucks.
That means my no-sell skills are good. There was nothing in my face that told you that game ended. All right.
No, I mean, to be fair, I was also like switching between tabs, so I didn't really see your face. Didn't really see your face at that point in time, but yeah, I knew it too. Like as soon as that pitch happened, I was like, yeah, no, he definitely went. All right, Yankees lose. Get the series win tomorrow, please.
That's life.
Yeah.
And to add to the outfield, the promise, and this was ahead of tonight's game, so obviously it's a little bit behind. But in the prior 24 games for Carson Bench, 360, 400, 494 with 6 doubles, 2 homers, 14 RBI, and a 157 WRC plus. Plus, also playing good outfield.
Oh yeah, he had a
not
great.
All the time. Not all the time.
But not all the time. He had that. He did have that. He did have that. Infamous blunder in the game against the Yankees on Saturday.
Speaking of idiots from Saturday's game, hi Joe Davis.
Yeah.
Anyway, where were we?
Yeah, I told you he sucked.
Yeah, I was wrong. You called it. I can't believe he did that. But Benj also runs the base as well, and it's why I said from the beginning is like you made him a first round pick, you poured this much development into him, you put all this behind him, and you could see in other phases of the game, like, okay, yeah, that's a major league player. That's someone that you give every chance to hit out of a slump because maybe it was, hey, he was facing major league pitching for the first time. He just needed to make a counter. Here we are. And yeah. I know his overall stat line probably still isn't going to wow anyone, but really for about 3 weeks now, Carson Bench looks like a pretty good major league player. And if we get to this point at the end of September and we're like, okay, well, the season was a loss, but hey, Benj and Ewing, you can definitely put those guys in pen for next year in the outfield next to Juan Soto. All of a sudden, I'd feel a lot more optimistic about things. If I know my outfield set and I've got those 3, okay, there's still work to do, but like, hey, having your starting outfield going into 2027, hey, worst place to be.
Yeah, like obviously, you weren't. I don't think you came into 2026 looking for stepping stones.
No,
or for it to be a stepping stone year, but
hey, so the altitude changed, and now you had to find something.
Yeah, so if you could at least get that out of it. I mean that was a the play at the plate that he made today. That one hop throw to throw the runner out at home. That was like a perfect throw.
It was such a good throw that Senger probably should have been called for blocking the plate, but he was out by so much that the umpires were like, "We're not calling that."
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. The ball. No, I actually respect that. Like, nah, son, like you were out.
Yeah, it's if that was a bang bang play, sure, but it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of plays at the plate, I have been a little hard on Anthony Volpe, and he did have an incredible slide to score a run in I believe it was Monday's game.
I need to see this. I should not have.
The Volpe slide, you didn't see it?
Yeah, let me pull that up right now.
He should have been out by a mile, but he.
Let's see. So that would have been Monday night or Tuesday night.
I believe it was Monday.
Okay, so that would have been 18th. Okay, I'm looking to see if someone posted this.
It should be. Yeah, it should be on. Yeah, it should be online somewhere. I mean.
Oh, here we go. There we go. And if you guys want to, there we go. No, that's nuts.
Yeah, crazy.
How did he get around that?
No clue, but
that's amazing handwork.
Yeah. Pause. But yes.
As the words were coming out of my mouth, I'm like, there's a joke I get attached to this. But my brain did not process it fast enough. So kudos to you.
Sometimes less is more, I guess.
Hey, the best QBs have the best process time, so I didn't have
it. Respect, game recognized game. But is there do you see a pathway, I guess, to not necessarily getting back to the playoffs or back in the playoff race, but I mean before you can do that, you have to at least get back to 500. Do you see a pathway for the Mets to get back to 500 by, say, I don't know, when I guess when would be like a reasonable time, I guess,
well, so this was something that was being talked about coming out of the Subway Series is after Sunday, there are 13 after that were 4 in DC, then 3 this weekend in Miami, then starting on Memorial Day, 3 at home against the Reds, and then back to Miami for another 3 before they got to go out to the West Coast. And it was, hey, if you go 9-4 on that, I think they would be like 30-31, which like given where they were, that would be and given who's out, I think they're the update we heard Monday is they hope Lindor's back within a month, but you don't know that.
Yeah, you'd have to run the table after losing the Peterson game tomorrow to make that happen.
Yeah, and we're going back to Miami.
You gonna go to any of those games?
Fuck no.
Just avoiding it like the plague.
First off, I got friends in town this weekend. That's one thing. But 2, no. Also, it being the first series in Miami after that series in Miami, no.
Yeah.
God, no. Also, I don't feel great about it. Friday's supposed to be Freddie Peralta against Yuri Perez, which Yuri Perez has kind of had a down year, but also
if there's you feel the get right game in your bones.
You would think, but weirdly enough, like the Marlins are still ahead of the Mets in the standings, and to this point, like Kyle Stowers missed the first month, and he hasn't really hit since he came back. Owen Casey's still kind of fighting his foot. He's hitting just over 200.
Yeah, he's been hot and cold. I had
Jacob
him.
Marcy hasn't hit.
Yeah, I had him in fantasy earlier in the year, but I ended up dropping him because he was kind of ass for a bit.
Oddly enough, what's carrying them offensively, it's Xavier Edwards, which doesn't surprise me. I thought he was going to continue to be on an upward trajectory this year. Otto Lopez already being worth 2.5 WAR to this point. Not inconceivable, but I would have thought that was more likely than Liam Hicks being worth 1.5 WAR at this point and being like tied for the league lead in all of the majors for RBI. Like, what is anything? And then pitching wise, like we said, Yuri's been down. Sandy Alcantara has been okay. Actually, he's got 7 quality starts out of 10. So he's not back to Cy Young form, but he's certainly much better than he was last year. Max Meyer's been pretty good. They're going to see him this weekend. Not crazy about that. At
least you avoid Sandy at the very least.
We do. Yeah, it'll be, well, technically he could go Sunday because he's not listed before that.
I thought he was pitching. I thought he was pitching tomorrow.
Oh, you know what? Let me go take a look. I think you're right. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's him versus Strider. So yeah, we will avoid him. So their Sunday spot's still open because they had just called up one of their big pitching prospects and Robbie Snelling, and then he got hurt in his second start, so he's out. Oh, I completely forgot about Christian Scott, who. He's another case where they're not getting a ton of length from him right now.
Yeah.
But that one I can understand because he's coming off Tommy John. Like, yeah, he's probably not good enough to be or he's probably not stretched enough, pause, to be going 7 innings right now. Like, his first appearance back was April 23rd. He threw an inning and a third his first time out, and I think that was by design. And then since then, it's been 74 pitches in 5 innings, 82 pitches in 4 2/3, 89 and 4 2/3, 81 and 4. Now, that's also cases where his strikeout numbers are 8, 6, 5, and 5. He's probably got to cut the walks down a little bit, but I will say, given what I saw from Christian Scott in spring training, and then at least early on, that first outing against the Twins didn't look great. I mean, he walked 5 in less than 2 innings, and I wondered if he was just shot. He might be looking like the prospect that he was before he came up in 2024. And again, I'm not saying he's going to have like McClain numbers at the end of the year, but could he be someone that locks down a rotation spot potentially? And that would be another thing where if you're trying to figure out what you're going to be long term, because it can't just be about fixing this season, it's this team needs answers. Because like we've talked about, I don't think you can bring Senga back next year. I don't think you can bring David Peterson back next year. You can't bring Minaya back. So those are spots where it's okay, well, who is going to start? And if Christian Scott wants to answer that question emphatically this year, I'll take it.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say too the fact that his pitch count has been hanging around like in the 80s for where he's at right now, like just coming back, I'd say that's a pretty good spot. And obviously you had the issues with like Peterson and Manaya's velocities being weighed down, but that doesn't really seem to be a problem with Christian Scott. So he probably does just need like a few more starts to get fully stretched. Pause.
And he throws harder than those two, so you probably are better off keeping him at 80 pitches, 5 innings for right now, because he's someone that can touch 96, 97. So it's maybe you don't want him throwing 95 of those a game. It's kind of ease him back into the water. And it's like, all right, you'll get to the deep end eventually. We're not going to go there right now.
Yeah.
Again, for what it's kind of lost now because so much has happened between when he got hurt and now. But there was a lot of promise for him. Now, he didn't have the kind of hype that McClain, Sproat, and Tong had, but people were high on him in the organization. And there was a lot of talk about him being a guy that could stick around in the rotation. And there's just been so much that happens with this team that it's hard to remember now. Like, oh, yeah, they really did like him. And I think right up until his last start before he got hurt, which I was at, he'd been all right. Like, he had a couple outings during his first real rookie season where you're like, okay, you can build on this. Like, all right, he's not nailed onto the rotation right now, but he could be. Like, there's a major league starter there.
Yeah, no, definitely.
He's got a triple.
Yeah, did you switch to the A's Angels game?
The only one left.
Yeah, it is the only one left. So I'd like to point out that I also switched to that game. I'm watching it on Crack Streams, and I'd like to point out that the Crack Streams chat right now, the first message is like someone drew like a very like pixelated dick, and then the two messages below that are they're from a guy named Marcus Toronto, who has a Montreal Canadiens logo as his profile picture, and his two messages are "Fuck yeah, Jays, what a win." I don't know where Shame went, but Shame definitely did not go to the Crack Streams live chat.
Well, we know why Marcus Toronto is supporting the Canadiens, because his team damn sure ain't going to give him anything this time of year. I know that much.
Well, I mean, I would think that he would support the opposite, because like the Leafs and Canadians are like mortal enemies.
Yeah, he would.
So,
it ain't like he's going to be cheering for the Knights.
No, I would think he'd at least. I think he'd at least cheer for the Canes, though.
I mean, who realistically could support that?
I mean, I couldn't, but like I would understand it if you were if you were like a Leafs fan, I could understand like rooting for anybody but Montreal in that scenario.
When you said the first thing in the Crack Streams chat, I was like, oh, this is
yeah, like, oh, this should be good.
Yeah, if you go to if you leave the chat open on any stream, like it's some of the most unhinged shit you've ever seen in your life. So I was like, this could be anything.
Yeah, for real. But yeah, I mean, looking at the Mets schedule, it's weird because I feel like we've been saying for a while with the Mets schedule, like, yeah, it softens up at this point or at this point, but it never seems like it seems like the softening up is always postponed, and that it doesn't seem to translate to it doesn't really seem to translate to like ripping off like a big winning streak.
Well, here's part of the problem is that when they had that hellacious April, like they got swept at home by the A's. They lost 2 of 3 at home to Arizona, who are just kind of spinning their wheels.
The Rockies too, right?
Yeah, the Rockies swept them. That was another one. That's like you can't get swept at home by the Rockies, and then that happened. They lost 2 of 3 at home to the Nationals. They won the series out in Anaheim, so there was that. They lost 2 of 3 at Arizona, so it was like their chance to dig themselves out of it or arrest the slide. It was against teams that they should have beat, and now you're in this stretch where, like, realistically, yeah, they should beat the Nats. But like really looking at it based on what's happened in 2026, I can't call that a walk. Going into this weekend against Miami, I can't say that's a walk. And especially not given the history, I can't say that's a walk.
Yeah.
And then in June, that's when we got to start playing the Braves and Phillies again. So
yeah, like so it really, it seems like it would seem like the goal would probably be to get to 500 by like maybe mid-June before you start playing those teams. But I'm looking at June now, and like it looks like you start with Seattle, and they've been they've kind of fallen off so far this year. But could they be could that be like the time where they start to figure it out? I don't know. You got the Padres who've been playing pretty good ball, so yeah, it's going to be tough to get back to 500 at any time soon. I think the last time I looked, I believe the Mets, like the live like Vegas over under win total, like projection for the Mets, I think it was right at 80.5. So they, basically Vegas is projecting them to be just about a 500 team or just under a 500 team, it seems. So there might be a pathway, there might be a pathway to get back to 500 by the end of the year. But if you're talking about getting to 500 before that to get to a point where you're back in the conversation and back in contention, that just seems like it's going to be really tough to do.
It was one of the things that was talked about coming out of the Subway Series was that in 2024, the popular story always is the run started with Grimace, which for the purposes of the story, yes. Realistically, coming out of the Arizona series, the first weekend of June, they were 24-35. They went to Washington and swept the Nats. And then they had that little 2-game series in London against the Phillies, which they split. But really, from that national series on June 3rd, that's when they went on their run. From June 3rd until
I would even say
I think they lost like 5 games in all of June.
Yeah, like I would even say the walk-off win against the Giants, like the day before Memorial Day, was also like a big stepping stone for that team to go on the run. Because
well, even then they had the after that they had the series against the Dodgers where they lost all 3 games, and 2 of them were because the bullpen imploded. Like they were still having those issues, and then in the Arizona series, they lost the Darryl Strawberry game, which I was at. And the next day they blew a game where they were up 4-0, and Arizona won it in the 9th inning, which was a continuation of the bullpen being bad. And it was, like we talked about last time, that whole season turned around because of the fact of the bullpen just stopped actively losing them games. But it was, hey, they went to Washington, they swept a series, and it was, okay, just keep stacking series wins off that. And they kept doing that. Like, they swept a few, but they had a lot of 2 out of 3s from there. And once they did that, so they were 24-35 on June 2nd. And by the time they got to the All-Star break, they were 49-46. So that would be a what? I would be a 25-11 run. Now, mind you, that was a much healthier team. Right around that point was when Francisco Lindor, right around the end of May was when Lindor started to heat up. That's when JD Martinez heated up. That's when Vientos got called back up. That's when he went on a tear. And right now it's, Juan Soto's been great, and Carson Bench has started to settle in, and AJ Ewing's been nice. But it's like, I need Bo Bichette to look like the guy he was on Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, and I think if you could get more, consistency out of Brett Beatty, I think that could go a long way. Because I feel like when he's on, he's one of the better hitters in the game when he's on. But he's also a player when he's off. He's really bad.
I can't say that the highs are very high with Brett Beatty, but he's solid when he's high. But when he's cold, it's colder than the bottom of the ocean in Antarctica. Let me see. For May, he is hitting
deep South Pole.
For May, he's hitting 259, 365, 426. That's an OPS just under 800.
Yeah, that's not bad.
That'll play. We could take, and I feel like Vientos' numbers, on top of being a not terrible first baseman, nobody's confusing him with Paul Goldschmidt. I want to make that clear. But is he a better defensive first baseman than the guy he's replacing? We are going to start a dialogue.
Yeah, I think there's a dialogue to be had there. I mean, Pete really, I think they called him Polar Bear Pete because he moves like a polar bear going to first base.
Vientos has a 750 OPS in May with a 485 slugging. Okay. Would I like that on base percentage to be higher? Yes, I would. But I don't think we're ever going to get everything we want out of Mark Vientos. But competent play at first base with slugging near 500, we'll take that.
Yeah, you can definitely get by with it.
I think I know why part of the reason they traded for Marcus Semien was it was a salary thing. I get that. But you also signed him looking at his track record thinking, okay, well, if we get somewhere between 20 to 30 home runs and he drives in between 75 and 90, we're good with his defense.
Yeah, you can get by with that, but
they haven't gotten that. They haven't gotten that from Bichette. If those two start to approach anything close to their priors, well, all right, that might be something. And then it's if most of this lineup is starting to pull its weight while Lindor and Alvarez are out, all right. I don't think the pitching has been so bad this year. It hasn't been perfect.
Yeah, it hasn't been
everyone
terrible.
Can rightfully agree that that's what cost them last year. I don't think that's been the reason that they're in this predicament.
It's been part of it, but it's not
it's not.
There's a varying amount of factors.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of been a little bit of everything with the Mets, and not as we've discussed before. It's a lot of not getting everything you need at the same time to win games. But I
do want to say shout outs to Huascar Brazaban and Austin Warren. I know Warren didn't have a great outing tonight, but a guy that in the midst of the Syracuse shuttle last year, they actually might have found a gem. Austin Warren, outside of tonight, generally been pretty good. And to paraphrase the Little Caesars meme, Huascar Brazaban is really good when you don't have an idiot in the dugout telling him to pitch every day.
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, he's definitely, yeah, Huascar is definitely good when used correctly. It seems like and it seems like he's doing pretty well in that opener role for Peterson, which I
Mm-hmm.
guess they're not doing tomorrow. I don't know if he's like been pitching too much lately, and they don't so they don't want him opening, or they don't want to have an opener tomorrow, whatever the reason is. But yeah, no, Brazoban, I mean, he pitched really well against us on Saturday. I
He's
went with
also a
my
guy
friend
that when we
Justin.
put him in high leverage situations, I generally feel all right.
Yeah. Like I went to that game with my friend Justin, and we were talking about it, and like I think they took him out after they took him out after like the fourth batter, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And or it was like the fourth or fifth batter, but they took him out and they put Peterson in to face Jazz, which seemed like that was kind of like always their plan, I guess, to like, get
Yeah.
Huascar through like the first two innings if possible, or 1 2/3, and then to get the lefty matchup and kind of let Peterson take it up from there. But we were kind of even saying like at least that seemed to be like their thought process, but we were even saying like, yeah, you probably could have left him in for like another batter or two, or to like finish the second inning and then go to Peterson.
And baseball is done for the night.
Is it now?
Yeah.
I'm
with
I'm like way behind. It's still the top of the 10th.
oh
For me. Okay, it just skipped to the bottom of the 10th, and then now it's my stream skipped from top of the 10th to bottom of the 10th, 2 outs, bases loaded, Jose Soler batting. Obviously, he is not going to get it done, but let's see how this plays out.
he is not.
All right.
Also, they had Craig Kimbrell face 8 batters tonight. That's the end, right? That's got to be it.
Yeah, you would hope. Respect to Craig Kimbrell. His prime, definitely. I'd say he's definitely definitely going to go into the Hall of Fame, or definitely deserves to be a Hall of Famer. But it's definitely time. It's time to hang it up. Unk does not still have it.
Yeah, this is the other thing that like someone's got to sit Craig Kimbrell down and tell him this. It's like you are affecting your career numbers by doing this. You're making them worse. You are hurting your Hall candidacy.
Yeah.
Like
like you're already. Yeah, like you could hang it up right now and be a Hall of Famer, but like if you keep fucking around like this for another, if you fuck around like this for like another 2 years, though, like people might think twice, especially because like I do think like there is some recency bias, I think, that goes into the way people think and maybe the way people vote in these situations. So, that's
like shit. People were doing that with Mike Trout, where it's like, okay, was he really? Like, no, trust me. Like,
yeah,
I promise you, he was.
Yeah, no, we definitely promise you he was, and even in Kimbrel's prime, he had a couple of dud years, like 2019 was a really bad year. 2020 was a fake season, but it wasn't a good season for him.
I mean, if we really want to get active, or as Kevin Lewis would say, if we want to get negative, the Red Sox did not trust him to close out the 2018 World Series.
That's right. Yeah, no, they had and he was really good that year, but I do do remember that in the I do think by the playoffs, like the wheels had kind of fallen off with him by the playoffs, because they had Chris Sale like closing out the World Series, and I think even closing out some of those playoff games against like the Yankees in the division.
I remember vividly the end of that division series. Kimbrel came in, and I don't know if it had been one of the prior games in that series, but when he came in, I don't know if it was the broadcast or if it was just our priors trying to confirm it for us, but it was like, oh, they're in trouble. And I think the first guy got on, and it was, oh, he's not ready for this.
Yeah, it's like
And I mean, Glaber, if he's like a millisecond faster, that game ends differently. Or it was Glaber
yeah,
that
that
got
game
thrown out
ends
of that game,
differently,
right?
and at least goes to a game 5.
Yeah. And at that point, it would have been like, could you even go back to him then? I don't know if you could have.
Yeah, no, probably not. I mean, and they didn't go back to him, so yeah, if you really want to,
on the all-time saves list, and the only guy that's close is, or even kind of close to him that's active is Chapman, and he's like 60 saves off.
yeah,
So it's like, someone tell Craig Kimbrell, it's like, you just stop right now. You're good.
yeah, I don't think you're getting those 60 saves to get to 500. Like,
Right. You're not
I
even
think you
catching Kenley Jansen. So like, what are we doing?
yeah, I think it's definitely time for him to hang it up. And it's like you don't want to be, and it's like if you're the Mets, it's like you don't want to be the team that like DFAs him and makes him go out sad. But like you got to do what's right for your team. You can't really worry about Craig Kimbrell, and his feelings in that situation.
Like,
So
hey,
yeah, it's just time.
You earned it in spring training. You earned the right to be on the roster.
Yeah, sure.
Like you've made it 2 months. He even finished a game. He finished the game on Monday night. Like, you could still do it, but like we're doing this for you. As much as it helps us, we're trying to help you.
Facts. Yeah, I would say it's time for that.
Of the 4 guys ahead of him on the all-time saves list, Rivera, Hoffman, and Lee Smith are in, and Kenley Jansen's 3, and like Kenley Jansen's gonna go in. Like,
yeah.
If the only 2 ahead of him are in, and the one guy directly behind him is in the hall, probably should put Kenley Jansen in.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, you kind of it's funny with Kenley Jansen. It's kind of a funny case because like he really was like there was a stretch where he was like extremely dominant, and then like I feel like he like once he fell off, it was kind of like he was still good during his fall off, but I feel like he had kind of been in the league in that that like second phase of his career for so long that I feel like people kind of one of those things where like with like Trout or like one of those guys where it's like, oh, people forgot how good you actually were like in your prime.
Well, it's also funny that he's been gone from the Dodgers since 2021. I thought like this, like I knew he wasn't on their 2 title teams. I knew that, but like I didn't realize it had been that long.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it has been a hot minute, and I feel like he's been on a lot, like quite a few teams since then.
He was on the Braves team that just edged out the Mets for the division in 22. I forgot that.
Yep.
Because I mean, like I know he was there, but like I don't associate him with that team. Like I think of the Bats and like Strider and Charlie Morton like more than I think of Kenley Jansen.
Yeah, which definitely makes sense. Like it feels like it was more them, but I mean he did have a pretty he had 41 saves that year.
Led the league.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, Kenley Jansen, he'll definitely get into the Hall of Fame as well. But let's move on to some Yankee talk.
The early Spencer Jones returns. How do we feel?
Early Spencer Jones. I would say, and I was kind of alluding to it a little bit earlier. Not great. Definitely, definitely leaving something to definitely leaving something to be desired. Obviously, he hasn't been, he really hasn't been like tearing the cover off the ball by any means. He already has a -2 WAR and he's accumulated that over like a -0.2, not -2.
Okay, I was like, man, that's crazy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. But he's already accumulated like a -0.2 WAR over 23 plate appearances in 8 games. The K rate definitely as advertised. I mean, yeah, he's gotten a couple of hits, a couple of RBIs, and he's walked. But yeah, I mean, it hasn't been good. But still, like I was saying before, I would rather watch him try to figure it out than watch Randall Grichuk every day.
Right.
That's about that's about the best thing that I could say for Spencer Jones. But ultimately, yeah, I think as long as the opportunity for playing time is there, which it is right now, I think you've got to let him continue to try and work through it at this level and continue to try to figure it out. Obviously, once Dominguez is back, I think Jones will be benched and or demoted. I think that would make sense. I think you could be in a position where if you are serious about contending this year, you could be in a position where trading for a depth outfielder not named Austin Slater could be a move on the table that could be made. So maybe you kind of put Spencer Jones back on the shelf in AAA. But yeah, for right now, with the lack of options and the playing time still there, you kind of have no choice but to continue to play him and to hope that he figures it out. I mean, he's proven that he can hit. He's proven that he can hit at the AAA level, and I mean, he's proven he can hit major league pitching like in his spring training stints. So yeah, he just needs to. It's a real thing now. So he just needs to do it. He just needs to do it in the in the real world now.
But like you said, this is one of those, hey, we've been hearing about Spencer Jones for 2 or 3 years. Like, okay, like go out and prove it. And I think, if I remember correctly, I believe Judge was drafted in 13 and came up in 16. And, I guess part of what makes his story as big as it was much like Mike Trout. He came up and, he wasn't Aaron Judge immediately. Like it took him getting those, however many at bats, maybe just over 100, for the final 2 months of 2016, going back in the offseason and putting in the work and coming back out and being the guy we know now. And
yeah, although I do think he hit a home run in like one of his first at bats. He hit a home run,
but you know what I mean.
But
like, there weren't a lot of highlights that first time around.
Overall, the body of work. The body of work of the first couple of months, like, probably weren't expecting him to become like a Hall of Famer based on that.
Right. And, we never know how these things are going to unfold. And, it could be that maybe Spencer Jones just has to kind of wear it right now. I mean, like we just said, Carson Bench for the first 3 weeks, we're completely lost up there, made his adjustments. And now we're starting to see the guy that they were talking about. And maybe that's all it's going to take for Spencer Jones here is just he has to have his own counter. It's, hey, this is what major league pitching looks like now. I know you've played at the SEC level. I know you've faced good pitching in the minor leagues. It's not this. So now you got to figure it out.
Yeah. And I mean, I think, facing Jacob Mizorowski was, probably not the best, probably not the softest landing spot as far as a welcome to the show type of moment. I mean, that first at bat, like Mizorowski was making everyone look silly that night, and has generally been making everyone look silly since he's come into the league last year. But that first at bat especially was like he blew like 205 mile an hour pitches by him. I think he might have fouled off one pitch, and then he threw a changeup that just he swung out of his shoes at. So yeah, that's a tough way to start. But yeah, it's you've faced your share of major league pitching in spring training. Obviously, it's nowhere near the sample size you're going to get over a full season. And you've shown the ability to hit a ball, hit a ball hard and hit a ball far at every other level that you played at. So yeah, it's just going to be a matter of if he can make those adjustments and if the Yankees, the Yankees coaching staff can work with him on that too.
And that's part of the learning process too, is knowing sometimes like you're going to go up against that. That doesn't mean you did something wrong. It's like look at 99. Look at 99 having trouble up there with that. You see?
Yeah. Like some guys,
not your fault.
Some guys are just like that, and there are some nights, or even like on a night like tonight where like nobody was hitting Trey Savage,
right? And he was going up against Schlittler, and it's like all you got to do is blink once.
Yeah. Savage. Schlittler's still the better pitcher than Savage, but Savage did get the better of us tonight than Schlittler did, because even though Schlittler only gave up like, I think we lost 2-1. I'm not sure if the second run was credited to Schlittler. It probably was, yeah. Schlittler gave up the 2 earned runs, but like I think the Blue Jays also had like 8 hits at the time that Schlittler came out of the game. The Yankees only got like 2 off of Savage.
They both did get credited to Schlittler, so
yeah, no, that makes sense, because I believe he walked in a run with the bases loaded, and then the bases were obviously still loaded, and then he got taken out, and they got a second run in.
Sack fly. So not even like he got tagged.
Right. Yeah, no, not at all. Yeah, and he's still the favorite to win the Cy Young. But yeah, just props to Savage. For some reason, Savage just becomes like an alien when he faces us. It's really fucking annoying.
Bright lights merchant?
Could be. So some people, the lights are too bright, and some people the lights can only be bright.
I know this is mostly a Knicks fan base, so we have the tunes into this show, but I don't know if you saw the meme going around after Game 7 of Cavs Pistons, but it's that picture of Jared Allen in that meme, but it's like, man, these lights ain't shit. I hoop, bitch.
No, I actually did not see that meme.
That killed me.
Yeah, that would kill me too. Before we dive further into the recent stretch that the Yankees have been on, I did want to take a quick moment here to acknowledge Gio Urshela, who announced his retirement on Monday. Urshela's kind of always been like, since he like came up with the Yankees, and since he really came up with the Yankees in like 2019, he's kind of been like one of those like just all-time like vibes guys, and like just a fan favorite for me. Like I know, like if you look at like his if you look like at his fan graphs or his baseball reference, like you're not going to get the full story with Gio Urshela. Like it's not going to tell you he was a bad player, but it's also not going to, it's not going to tell you that he was anything special either. But he was someone that just always he had some very, very big, very clutch hits, very memorable hits as a Yankee. Particularly, he hit a grand slam, I believe, against the Guardians in the 2020 COVID offs. Right. I'll always remember that grand slam that helped us advance to the divisional round that year. And also, like since A-Rod retired, really, the Yankees, it's kind of been like a revolving door at third base for quite some time now, and we really haven't gotten like I feel like he's been the most since A-Rod's retirement. He was kind of been the most complete package we've gotten at third base since then, as far as someone who can hit and can play defense. And his defense wasn't even spectacular, but I think it was just like the contrast of going like from Miguel Andujar to Gio Urshela. I think really
I always thought it was the other way around with him, where it was like he didn't have the most spectacular offensive numbers, but like he was a safe pair of hands at third base. You knew he was going to make all the plays that he was supposed to make, and he would probably make about a handful of plays per year where you're like,
that you
well,
don't
the average
about.
third baseman's not getting that.
Yeah. No, I mean, he was always a very good defender. I just feel like
Well, yeah, I
maybe,
mean, he's not A-Rod at third, obviously, but
yeah. I just feel like maybe, he's a very good defender. I just feel like he's maybe not like an elite defender or someone who, like if you look at like I guess his like his like advanced defensive stats, like yeah, they're good, but you're not really. It's not really like, oh, holy shit, like this was like some like that this was like some goat like defensive third baseman. He wasn't like Scott Rowland or A-Rod there.
no.
But yeah, no, like overall very, very solid, very good. And yeah, just an all-time vibes guy in the in the Judge years, in the Judge Boone years for the Yankees. So, and then after the Yankees, he had, a variety of stops. Went to the Twins,
Inexplicably traded.
Angels.
I forgot he was in that deal.
Yeah. In which deal?
He was in the Gary Sanchez trade that brought back Donaldson and IKF. And
that's right. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember. I never liked that trade.
Completely understandable.
Yeah, like even when it was first made, I was like, yeah, and like that was before Josh Donaldson like really fell off a cliff. But I remember being like, man, like I don't like that at all. But yeah, then he went to like the Angels, the Tigers, the Braves, finished up with the A's last year. And there's always he would always be good for like that one random like week or so where he kind of just reminds you that he like does something and kind of just reminds you that like he's still around. So yeah, all the best to Gio Urshela, forever my goat.
I can't remember if it was before last year or before 24, but there was a point where the Mets were linked with him, and I was like, hey, if nothing else, he's going to play third base sturdy. Like, bring him in. I'll take that.
Yeah. But getting back to the Yankees and the present day Yankees, so it's really it's hard. I think we'd feel a lot better about our record right now if if the Rays would like ever fucking lose games. And it's like it's actually crazy. Like I'm starting to think more and more now that the Rays are actually like a legitimately good team. Because if you would have asked me like a few weeks ago, like we were hovering right around there. We were hovering right around there with the Rays. And if you would have asked me, like I'd be like, oh yeah, like looking at the run differentials, I think like a few weeks ago the Rays had like a +7 run differential or something like that, and we were like at least +50 or something like that. We're at +69 now, but the Rays have upped their run differential all the way to +40. Nice. They've won 4 in a row. They're 8-2 in their last 10. It just seems like they just don't lose games. So I'm starting to think like this is going to be, this isn't going to be something where like, oh yeah, by June, like the Yankees are going to have the division and they'll just run away with it. Like, I think this is going to be, an ongoing race to the end.
I am not ready to claim that the Rays are a good team, but they are a devil magic team. And
yeah, they're definitely a devil magic team, but like I'm starting to, I'm starting to see some things though that like make me start to believe in the legitimacy of it all.
Their WAR leader is Yandy Diaz at 1.5, which sure, okay, he's OPSing 900. That makes sense.
Yeah,
you want to guess who's second?
I don't know if I expect that to continue. Although I do have Yandy Diaz on one of my fantasy teams. So
he's done this for a while now. This is just who he is.
Yeah.
But you'll never guess who's second for them in WAR, and he's their only other position player with more than one.
Okay. So it's definitely not Caminero because like
it's not. He's 0.8.
That would be more. That'd be more obvious.
Although his offensive numbers are good, he is Roger Dorn at third base.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think like who else is on this. Like who else is in their lineup? Let me see. Don't tell me. I'm gonna. I just need like a. I just need. I'm not pulling it up on like Baseball Reference, but I'm just pulling up like their lineup from today just to like get like a visual. So it's not Caminero. I think. Is it one of their outfielders?
It is not.
Not one of their outfielders.
Chandler Simpson is third, however.
Okay.
But that's mostly
That's
mostly
what I was
base
thinking
value.
about. Is it their catcher, Fiducia?
No, it is not.
Taylor Walls.
It's Taylor fucking Walls.
Yeah, that's
Ron DeSantis enthusiast.
oh god.
Stinks.
Go figure. Yeah. I guess he's a Walls enthusiast too then.
Yeah, he's at 1.3, and that is solely his defense.
Yeah. And oh wow, Richie Palacios is on this team. Didn't even realize.
By the way, Friday night should be interesting. Obviously, Garrett Cole's coming back.
Yep.
And you may look at the Rays rotation and think that there's better starting pitchers, but their pitching war leader this year is Nick Martinez, and that's who he's going to be facing.
Yeah,
Nick Martinez has over 2 WAR already.
Yeah, that'll be a pretty good. That'll be a pretty good matchup. Who else are we? Are we slated to face McClanahan or? I think
he is. The Sunday game will be Will Warren against McClanahan, and Saturday will be Ryan Weathers against Drew Rasmussen. So 3 really good matchups this weekend for you guys.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I'm not feeling great about this.
At least you're home.
Yeah, no, that is true. We are home. And I mean, we got to beat a team over 500 at some point. The Yankees are actually.
I did not know that till yesterday.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that till today, I think, or maybe it was yesterday. But I didn't. Yeah, until that graphic was circulating around the internet, and then I actually went back through all their teams. It's like, oh yeah, no, every team that was over 500 swept them, like the Brewers, the Rays, and it was something I knew their record against even earlier in the season when more of these teams were over 500, so they actually had a better record against over 500 teams. I knew it still wasn't great though. I kind of chose to, I guess maybe I kind of chose to overlook that a little bit. I don't know if maybe it's something maybe it's something to pay closer attention to, though. Because the June swoon, they've kind of written the ship a little bit, these past couple of games. But it does seem like the June swoon had come a little bit early for this Yankees team.
Well, I will say your June schedule has it starts with the Guardians at home, which
and then we play them again in Cleveland a week later. So that'll be a good test because the Guardians always find a way in the AL Central.
In between that is Boston at home. And then after the series in Cleveland, it's at Toronto for 3, then home for 3 with the White Sox, then the Reds at home for 3, then at Detroit, at Boston, and then home for Detroit. And that's your June. So we got to see how some of these other teams, whether they right themselves, because the Tigers their season might not be over. Skubal might be back sooner than we think,
or they might actually have to trade him.
if I don't know. Everything I keep hearing is they think they've avoided disaster with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to rush him back because I think they realize hey, this is going to be it. And they've kind of put themselves in the spot of let's make one more run with him, which again, for as close as the Tigers have been the last 2 years, I can't say they're crazy for that.
Yeah.
It is getting late for them in a hurry.
Central, so no one's really going to run away with it.
Also, they did just get swept by us, so there's that.
Yeah, there is that. But yeah, I mean, looking at their schedule for June and for the rest of this month, it's kind of it may not sound that tough. It may not sound that tough on paper, but I do feel like it could be. I do feel like it could be tougher than it's being advertised to be. But yeah, it'll definitely be a big test, and I don't expect them to be in first place, or I don't think they can. I don't think they can close the gap completely on Tampa in this 3-game series because they're currently 4 games back. But unless they win tomorrow, and does Tampa even play tomorrow? I think they do. But yeah,
no, they don't.
Oh,
they're
Tampa's off. Yeah, so the best we could do if we sweep them is get to like within a game or a half a game, which would be, we would definitely take that. You'd absolutely take that.
I do think if there is anything that you would want to put into this team is, you're trying to avoid the June swoon, and it's, look around your league. Like, you have a chance.
Yeah, everyone in the American League is swooning, so it's hard to really get too pressed over like their record against like teams above 500 or the fact and I think like they're basically a 500 ball club without Stanton, and with Stanton I think they're like that's where like the 10 games over 500 kind of factors in. So 36-year-old Giancarlo Stanton just still carrying the New York Yankees.
Well, I mean, even that, it's more so of just if you could tell this team, like, hey, everyone thought this was going to be a 5-team free-for-all in the AL East this year. If you just handle your business, forget what the Rays are doing, but if you handle your business this month, you can get to the All-Star break, and we know it's a 2-team race, potentially. Like, you can leave those other 3 in the dust. You look at the wild card right now. In the AL, you have the number 1 wild card spot. You're 4.5 clear of the next closest team, and you're 5.5 games clear of a third. Like, if you just handle your business in June, you can get to the All-Star break knowing, oh, we're comfortably in a playoff spot, and we can basically just spend the second half trying to win our division instead of worrying about what our playoff positioning is. So, like,
it could be very different.
Stick around for 2 months, you can really put yourself in contention to get everything you want.
Yeah, and if we win the division, we'll have the 1 seed and the bye. So so obviously that is the goal. But yeah, I think we've reached a point where we can't just like expect Tampa to just like go away, I guess is what I would say.
Here's one for you. Who do you think is the number 2 wild card team in the AL right now?
I believe it's the White Sox, isn't it?
It is the Chicago White Sox.
Yeah, and then Texas is the last wild card team with a losing record.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really hope we don't see a team with a losing record get into the playoffs. I don't think we will. I think
we'll be fine there.
Yeah, I think it'll all even itself out. But like, yeah, if we see a team with a losing record in the playoffs, then when you have that lockout, you better make the playoffs more exclusive again.
Rob Manfred heard that. It was like, oh, you won 16 teams per playoff.
Yeah.
Say less.
Yeah, just let everyone make it. What's the point of any of this?
Hey, I mean, what else is going on? The National Football League? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
People will watch.
Yeah, who gives a shit? But yeah, I mean, they definitely do have the opportunity to leave. They definitely do have the opportunity to leave like Boston and the Blue Jays in the dust, because the Blue Jays and the Red Sox are kind of in similar positions as the Mets, where like, they're not like dead, but they're still like hanging around. And if you like let them hang around, it could be a problem. So yeah, you really just gotta handle your business. Get the series win against Toronto tomorrow, and then make sure you handle your shit against those teams when you see them in June. Just whatever it is that makes this team forget how to play baseball in June. Just pretend it happened in May. I don't know. But Garrett Cole coming back, I think Garrett Cole coming back will help a lot. Especially like with Rodon coming back too. Rodon hasn't, the early returns on Rodon's return haven't been great, but that's kind of to be expected, and you kind of just have to have to work through that, I think. And I think you might see some, I don't really know what to expect with Garrett Cole coming back, to be honest with you, especially at the beginning. I don't know. I really don't know what the realistic expectations are, but I mean, it does seem like his rehab stints have gone extremely well. So I'm happy to have him back. And then, I think that just makes the rotation stronger. It kind of knocks everyone back a step. Maybe it puts Weathers back into the bullpen. Elmer Rodriguez, he's got the stuff, but he might be, he might not be ready yet though. So maybe he'd be better suited for the bullpen, or, maybe he needs more development in the minors before he's really ready. I think that'll help. I think, and then obviously Fried's out now too, and it seems like they've avoided kind of the worst case scenario with Fried. So I think he's shut down for a couple of weeks, and then he'll probably from there probably need a few rehab starts before he's back. So I'd expect him back by mid to late June. And I mean, this was kind of the timeline that we were given when Cole first got the Tommy John. I think there was a certain type of Tommy John where he was actually going to be able to, or something they did with the procedure where he was actually going to be able to come back faster than, kind of faster than most, than a lot of pitchers have, where he'd be back within a year and a couple of months, as opposed to the typical year and a half to 2 years. I was actually expecting him to be I feel like we're actually kind of ahead of schedule with him. I wasn't expecting him to come back till maybe June, but yeah, I think that'll help, and maybe it'll alleviate some of the bullpen struggles that we've seen, hopefully, particularly with Camelo Duval and David Bednar, the two deadline acquisitions for last year. And I think a big selling point of both of those acquisitions was that you were going to have them under team control, for 2026 too. With Bednar, I can't say I'm shocked that we've kind of seen the regression. I mean, this is kind of who he's always been. And it's kind of
call this from jump, so I'll give you that.
It's what he was with the Pirates. And after he had that minor league stint with the Pirates last year, he was pretty much lights out up until basically now. And I mean, even now, Bednar, it's really just been the last few games that have been pretty bad. I did see a stat that was kind of alarming. I believe that Bednar leads the league in relief appearances where at least one run is allowed. So that's a bit alarming.
Yeah.
But I would say with Bednar too, I think part of it is also someone could tell Aaron Boone or Cashman or whoever's whoever's calling the shots in the Yankees organization, there's no rule that says David Bednar has to pitch the ninth inning. I think the other night I was watching, I think it was Monday night. And then Bednar came in and he gave up a run, and it was a very, he ended up getting the save. We ended up winning 7-6, but he gave up the run, made it a lot more stressful than it needed to be. And I think before the because I think in the eighth inning, I want to say going in the eighth, they were tied, or they may have even been behind, but Bednar and both Bednar and Hedrick were warming up, and I was like, at this point, I would just put Hedrick in. I think Bednar just needs a night off to get right. But then they got the lead and they put Bednar in, and it was just I was just kind of okay, why?
I'm honestly, I think I'm kind of with you on Hedrick being I don't think you have to come out in front and say, "Yep, Hedrick's definitely the closer going forward."
Or Fernando Cruz.
You can just say, "Hey, look, this is what we're doing for right now. We'll see what happens."
Yeah, and then they decided to have Duvall close out last night's game. Which you could have also potentially gone in a different direction there. So there's no rule that, just because you traded for these guys, or because these were you envision these guys being your eighth or ninth inning guys, that that's the way it needs to go.
I was gonna say, if Boone were to definitively say, "Hey, yeah, we're taking Bednar out of the closer role, and we'll just see, where we're at going forward." Would Brett Hendrick be your number one choice?
Yeah, I mean, I would say either Hedrick or Fernando Cruz. Cruz has been pretty lights out, so it would definitely be one of the two. I'd probably give a slight edge to Hedrick, just because his numbers are ever so slightly better and he's younger. But yeah, I mean, I'd feel pretty comfortable with either of them being the closer. Although, even though I'm not a big believer in having a designated closer, I think it's more you should just have your best guys face the other team's best guys in the highest leverage situations. But yeah, if you're gonna have a pecking order and the closer is your best reliever, if you're gonna do it that way, then yeah, I'd say Hedrick would be the move, and I think Fernando Cruz a close second.
It's so weird because it's logic that almost kind of runs counterintuitive, is that all those guys back there have to be prepared to know that they could go into a high leverage moment at any time. They could be asked to get the last out, and it's a 1-run game with 2 out. They all could be asked to be brought in at 10-0. But like you said, that there has to be some sort of certainty that guy going in most nights to go finish the game knows, oh, this team trusts me to do this. This team believes in me enough to give me this responsibility, because you don't want your closer on any given night being all right, what if I lose here? Am I just done? What's going on?
Yeah, especially putting Bednar in the 9th inning, the day after he gave up the home run to Tyrone Taylor. It was and I think he threw almost 30 pitches in that 9th inning against the Mets too. So I was and then he had to throw another 30. He had to throw another 35 pitches to get that save. So it was just kind of I just feel like there was a better way you could have done that. But a dub's a dub. He got it done.
I mean, realistically, they could have just given him the night off and say, "Hey, look, you threw 30 pitches yesterday. We got to give you a breather."
That's what I would have thought
anything of it. It wouldn't have been a sign of trust or any of that. It would have just been no, that logic makes sense. They'll have him back out there next time.
Yeah, he threw a bunch of pitches in that he threw a bunch of pitches in that 9th inning on Sunday against the Mets, and he had he pitched Friday too. So you kind of keep him on that that every other day schedule. I think that would have made sense, but yeah, I mean now he's got 2 days of rest, so we'll see. If we need him tomorrow, we'll see. We'll see which David Bednar we get, I guess.
I will credit my friend Jesse Schrage. He called it Friday night. He texted me and said, "Don't ask me how, but Bednar pitching in with a 4-run lead in the ninth is going to hurt them." Like he knew 2 days out what was going to happen.
Yeah, just somehow, yeah, and it did. Somehow it did. I mean, they gave up a run. He gave up a run that night too. So that wasn't that wasn't a clean inning either on Friday. So yeah, I think he'll get to the other side of this, and we'll see good Bednar again. I don't think he's cooked by any means. This is just kind of who he's always been, and he's gonna have to. Obviously, he's like in a bit of a slump right now, and you want to let him work through it, but I don't think he necessarily needs to work through it in the ninth inning. It doesn't mean like you can't go to him at all. I think it just means that maybe he's just not your ninth inning guy. But we are kind of in an interesting position as a team right now where, I mean, and I feel like I've sounded a bit negative on this podcast, and I do want to kind of preface that by also saying and I know that I need to hold myself accountable. Like I've been too hard on Anthony Volpe. He's definitely made the most of his opportunity since coming back up so far. I mean, he's batting nearly 300, has a 912 OPS, and when he's on, he does have a little bit of pop in his bat. He hasn't hit any home runs yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if he starts to knock a couple out here and there. So I'll admit that I was a little hard on him. And I'm not like one of those talking Jake idiots who thinks the Yankees have had a C+ season so far, or this team doesn't have an identity. Like you have the best hitter in the world, and one of the best tops of the lineups in baseball with Ben Rice and Aaron Judge, and Paul Goldschmidt, who's become an everyday player too. That. It's funny how that situation is also kind of it's funny how that situation has also kind of worked itself out, where it's because we were why aren't you playing Ben Rice every day? And then it's just well, now we just have to play Ben Rice and Paul Goldschmidt every day. One of them can play first, the other can DH.
It's a lot of times when you're in a situation where you're like, oh, well, how are we going to make this work for everybody? It usually finds a way to.
Yeah. So I'm not going to say it's all doom and gloom, but there are definitely some holes in this team, and it does, it does feel like, and especially with how weak the American League is, the goal should be to get back to the World Series, but if you want to make a serious run at winning it and overtaking the Dodgers or whoever's there are definitely there's definitely improvements that need to be made to this team. But it's interesting that last year, the deadline acquisitions, the big deadline acquisitions, it was, obviously it was Camilo Doval, David Bednar, and Ryan McMahon were kind of they made a few other moves. Jose Caballero was playing well, but before he got hurt.
He was.
I know that, I know that we have to be honest about who Jose Caballero actually is, but we weren't quite there yet. So it does feel like that was taken away from us a little prematurely. And, I guess we'll just have to see if Volpe can keep this up and, where we're at when Caballero is back. I mean, he's versatile, so he does have, so that works in our favor too. If Volpe is still playing well, but
let the record show that Jose Caballero and Ben Rice have the same WAR right now.
The record does show that. It's also interesting though to me that we got but the main acquisitions, it was Ryan McMahon and the two relievers. And what are the Yankees' biggest needs right now? Probably a third baseman, and you probably need two new relievers.
I assume
that's probably what they're going to be in the market for at the deadline.
You guys are probably more ambitious than we are, and you're probably already thinking about this. Do you have a list in your mind of I want him, I want him, I want him. Or it's like, that's realistic. He's probably going to be available. That guy's probably going to be available. Like, are you already thinking about that?
I haven't really gotten to a point of specifics with names just yet. But I mean, I'm sure, I'm sure that'll start to, I'm sure that'll start to materialize, and I'll actually, might do a little digging right now and see, like, see who might, from as far as some of the more bottom feeding teams, like who might be there. But it's also it's a little early right now, because I mean, the whole NL Central is over 500, and everyone there is very much in the running. So like, are the Pirates just gonna like turn around and trade us Dennis Santana at the deadline? I don't know. I would love that, but
do you want him based on how this year's gone?
that's also true. Maybe not. As far as and as far as like a third baseman goes,
no one Arenado?
Not especially. Like, I mean, I feel like, I mean, he's had an okay enough year. I mean, yeah, he's actually kind of had a decent year hitting. So,
well, actually, there's one that's probably closer to still being a prime player. I mean, the Giants have basically said they'll take calls on Matt Chapman.
Yeah, he hasn't really been hitting though. I feel like if we're upgrading it, like if we're upgrading third baseman, like we already have a good defensive third baseman that can't hit. So I'm not really interested in Matt Chapman. Arenado, definitely a little more intriguing, but also like Diamondbacks are playing decent ball right now. Like they're not completely out of it. I mean, I don't expect them to hang in there because they're in a very tough division. So, I would expect that they are more likely to be sellers than buyers come the deadline. And then like looking at some of these other teams, I just don't really know like who exactly would be the fits right now as far as those relievers, and as far as who a third baseman would be. I mean, and I know the Padres are like contending and they probably won't do this, but if the Padres need to shed some cash, like I would take Manny Machado.
Even given his current numbers?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, his current numbers do leave a little bit to be desired. But like I know like what he's capable of, and I think I know like what he's capable of like in Yankee Stadium too. So like I would have some faith in him to figure it out. But honestly, like if you're basing it off the numbers right now, like the most intriguing option that could be a possibility probably be Arenado. But also like he's older. Do you really like it's like can you really expect him to keep this up?
The only other one I can think of is Brendan Donovan for Seattle, and I can't imagine the Mariners would want to make that trade within the AL because they called up Colt Emerson last week.
Yeah,
they've got another infield prospect in Michael Arroyo, and it's going to be one of those like, well, are they going to move JP Crawford off, or they have Cole Young playing second? Are they going to move on from him? Brendan Donovan's kind of made his calling as a super utility guy. It's like, are they just going to find spots for him? I mean, I kind of feel like that was like their big swing in the offseason was going and getting him. And he's been good. The problem for him is he's just been hurt a lot so far. Or is it one of those like, hey, if Colt Emerson just comes in and hits, it's like, well, that's one spot. Cole Young's been fine, and say Arroyo comes up and he hits. Well, then what? And again, I don't know if the Mariners would be so eager. They still rightly consider themselves a contender. I don't know if they would want to give that to another AL contender.
Yeah, they're not really out. They're not really at a point of out of it where you'd expect them to just like tear it down, especially like when they were like a game away from the World Series last year. I don't think they'd be that quick to do that. I mean, It's probably highly unlikely. I can't really see us doing business with them, but with the fall off of the Houston Astros, does that maybe become a team that you could look towards? As far as like, maybe poaching some of their players.
Isak Paredes, that's a guy.
Yeah, Paredes nuts. He could be in play. I would definitely be interested in him. Their bullpen is kind of ass, but Brian King is having a pretty good year.
Yeah.
And Steven Okert is he's Okert. I could probably get down, like I wouldn't hate trading for him.
Well, here's one. I feel like you would have a better scouting idea than I do. Do you think the Pirates would want to move on from Nick Gonzalez, or do you think that for them he's someone where it's like, all right, we're not saying he's a foundational piece, but cool, he's got third base. We just don't have to worry about that.
That's actually a pretty good question. I would say they might feel more inclined to I would say they might feel more inclined to hang on to him than to trade him, because they've kind of been having some trouble, figuring out third base for quite some time now. Like, obviously Key Brian Hayes experiment was a disaster. And, they had been trying Jared Triolo out there as like an everyday third baseman. And, I think Jared Triolo is actually like okay as like a bench utility guy, but definitely not someone you want playing every day.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't really see them moving off of I don't really see them moving off of Nick Gonzalez, to be honest.
There's a hockey writer who's from Pittsburgh that also like kind of just talks about all sports, named Adam Gretz. He's from Pittsburgh, and he just put like Nick Gonzalez has basically become poor man's Luis Arias, and I am not sure how to feel about that. But if you're the Pirates, like, are you going to turn that away? I mean, I know people have their opinions on Luis Arias, but if you've been an offensively starved team and you're trying to build something right now, you have something between Skeens, Jones, Keller, and Griffin. Like, why wouldn't you want to have that? And you're like, oh, this dude hit 300. Cool, I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, with how bad the Pirates lineup was like last year, and even right now, like it's a much improved lineup, but it's still not great. I doubt they'd want to just like take a piece of that out of the equation.
Right.
Like, we're already looking at his stat line, I guess he kind of is a poor man's Luis Arias. He's batting .314 with no home runs. I feel like his he could probably walk more because his batting average is .314, but his OBP is only only a little bit higher than that at .378. So
like Lau's been as good as you could have hoped for. Like Horowitz has been fine.
Yeah,
Connor Griffin's generally done all right.
Yeah.
Reynolds has been good. O'Hearn was good before he got hurt. It's like, yeah, you need all the offensive help you can get. It's like, okay, he doesn't have the perfect offensive profile, but he hits. Like I know everybody wants to have a lineup full of 9 guys who, have an 80 grade hit tool and an 80 grade power tool. And guess what? It doesn't work that way. If you got some dudes that can mash, great. If you got some dudes that can just hit the ball, great. I'll take them all in.
Yeah. And Gonzalez is only under contract. Well, he's got 2 arbitration years coming up, but I doubt that. They traded Bednar for like some 18-year-old and like some other guy. So like, I doubt they're gonna look at trading Nick Gonzalez as like a good like ROI type of move. Like they'd probably be better off keeping him.
Yeah. I guess like in his case, you would just consider him found money. Like, oh hey, this actually worked out.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah. He is like kind of like finding like $20 on the floor, basically.
We badly needed a third baseman. The last 2 didn't work. Oh, cool. He hits 320. Sick.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you take that and you're wrong with it. So yeah, I don't really see that happening. Yeah, it's probably a little early, but I'm sure to really dive into specifics of. But I'm sure as the season goes on and as as the standings shape out more, I'm sure we'll see. I'm sure we'll have a clearer picture when the deadline gets closer as to some more realistic. And a wider variety of names that the Yankees could be after.
Does anybody know what Bo
But
Bichette's career numbers at Yankee Stadium are? Asking for a friend.
oh gee.
I'm
Well,
just
I
asking.
guess
I'm
yeah,
just
he
asking
can play
questions.
third. Yeah, maybe we'll be in touch. I don't know if he could keep doing what he's doing. It would
Could be.
also, but I also just don't see. I definitely don't see the David Stearns just turning around and taking the L on Bo Bichette and training into the Yankees.
You know what? Fair point. Yeah, it would be really bad if it got to a place where it was kind of working to be like, you know what? Let's just take our losses on this. We'll trade him, and then he goes to the Yankees, and then
Yeah,
he just turns back into his regular form for you guys as you guys take off. Yeah,
yeah. Good luck selling that.
yeah, that's tough optics.
Yeah. But before we end the show, we do have one variety segment. So you came up with this one. So the question of the day is to name one prospect for your team that that succeeded, that was a surprise to you, and a prospect that you knew would be good when no one else really did.
So I'll start with the Mets, and this is not to say that I thought he'd be bad. I just didn't know a whole lot about him, and he came up in a time where the way the amount of coverage that prospects get now, it was really just starting to take off in the early 2010s. Like, before, like, you really had to be a sicko to know what was going on in the farm. I think like now even casuals know about the top names in the system. And especially for someone like me, like I'd been, I was fortunate enough that I got to cover the St. Lucie Mets for a little while in 2011. So I knew about guys in the system, and I had just never heard about him. And I remember Jacob deGrom coming up in May 2014, and I had heard a little bit about him the year before. I remember it was some point in the summer where they were going to have a doubleheader, and it's like, oh well, they're gonna have an extra game to throw here. They're gonna have to call somebody up, and it was between him and Henry Mejia, and they were like, well, I mean, like deGrom's had some decent. This was back when their AAA team was in Vegas. They're like, he's had pretty good numbers for pitching in Vegas, but Mejia's the guy with the higher ceiling here. They'll probably just go with him. And I remember deGrom came up and he started against the Yankees in game one. And I just remember being like, this is the guy they were talking about? I didn't really hear a whole lot of All right, let's see where this goes. And by September it was because remember, Harvey and Wheeler were already up. So and they, Syndergaard was still unemployed. Noah from Texas he was coming.
Yeah.
So it was like deGrom was just finding him was like, we made one of these? Huh. Like not having any clue what was about to unfold. So that was one, like, I don't want to say like I was wrong in the sense of I didn't think he was be good. I just didn't know that we had this.
Right.
And then I'll say there's two that I knew would be good that maybe didn't have. People knew about Wilmer Flores, and I got to cover him in 2011 for the time that I was in St. Lucie. And he did 3 years in a row in the Florida State League, which may not seem all that impressive. But remember, this was when the Florida State League was high A, so the average age of the league was higher. And he was doing this at 18, 19, 20 years old. And he hit every year. And you'd watch this kid at 19 years old playing in stadiums that are major league size, because these are all spring training sites. And every time you'd watch him, you're like, man, he's like 3-4 years younger than the average age of this league. And he doesn't look overmatched at all. Like, that looks like a professional hitter up there. Now, like, I didn't think he was going to be a superstar or anything, but I'm like, that's a major league hitter. Like, you could tell at 20 years old, like, you could do this. And so for him to have over a decade long career in the major leagues, and not the reason they got there in 2015, but played a big part. Like they'll never take that away from him. But I knew Wilber Flores was going to be someone. I knew Daniel Murphy was going to be someone. He obviously didn't have the pop then that he went on to have. But I remember watching him in St. Lucie and being like, that's a professional hitter. Sometimes you just know. Like it just takes you watching a guy 2 or 3 times. And this was back when I used to get to see a lot more minor league games. And it's just like, yeah, Daniel Murphy's a major league hitter. I know.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget the year after I saw him, the Mets called him up. I think Castillo had gotten hurt. And his first at bat, he works a 12-pitch, I believe it was a 12-pitch walk against Greg Maddux. I was like, see? I remember I was watching with my dad. I was like, I told you. Like,
yeah.
Like you don't shake this dude. And he went on to have the career that he did. So I'll take those 2.
Okay. Yeah, those are good choices. So yeah, I won't lie. I've had a little bit of trouble with this one, but I would say as far as a prospect that has succeeded, that surprised me, I'm gonna say Cam Schlittler. Not that I thought Cam Schlittler would suck by any means, but I'm definitely surprised that he's. I figured he'd be good, but the Yankees have had so many pitching prospects over the years that are like, they're hyped up and they can, they throw gas, but they don't necessarily, like turn into like that bona fide ace.
Right.
Like I feel like Severino was kind of like hyped up to be like that guy, and like he was kind of that guy for a little bit, had a bit of a fall off, and kind of like stabilized his career later on. But
Jabba.
Yeah, Jabba. And Jabba was like a big name that I'd say everyone kind of expected, big things out of Jabba. But Cam Schlittler, I would say I'm definitely surprised that he is. I would say I'm surprised that he's like a Cy Young caliber pitcher and that he is one this quickly. Like I can't really remember a time that has happened with the Yankees. And it's hard to say like who's a prospect, especially with the Yankees, because I feel like our prospects are either Yankees prospects are either they're always either overhyped or they're hyped and they live up to the hype, but there's always a lot of hype around the prospects. But if I had to pick one, and I'm gonna dig a little blast from the past, but if I had to pick one Yankees prospect who was maybe a little more under the radar than the others, that I always thought would be good, I'm gonna go with Melky Cabrera.
Okay, all right, not bad. I mean, it ended up being a starter for a World Series winning team, so that's completely fair.
Yeah, just something, and I can't even really say like, oh, I followed, I can't even really say like, oh, I was like following his minor league career, but for some reason, like once he came up, like I kind of just had this feeling right away, like, yeah, he's gonna be good and he's gonna contribute to this team in a meaningful way.
By the way, I did look it up. I just want to make sure I correct myself for the record real quick. Daniel Murphy's first major league at bat, he got a hit off Roy Oswalt. I don't know why I had Maddux in my head, but
all good.
Back to you.
No, all good. But yeah, I mean, yeah, Melky Cabrera. I'd say Melky Cabrera definitely a Hall of Pretty Good candidate, if anything. And
we'll have to see, given some of his indiscretions.
Yeah, that's true. It was him who had the. Was it him who had the whole website fiasco?
Yes,
that was him. Yeah. Oh, I got it off this website. I didn't know what it was. My brother in Christ, you made the sandwich.
Literally, we caught you in 4K.
Yeah, yeah. This IP address traces directly back to you, but nonetheless, that's gonna be my pick, and I think that's gonna be it for I think that's gonna be it for this show, unless you have any final words.
No, we're good over here.
Yeah, we're good. We're good over here. We're good over there. Let's go Yankees. Let's go Mets. No June swoon, please. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.
See you.